I hadn't seen Ayla in 7 long years. 7 years of silence. 7 years of questions that never found an answer. 7 years of waiting for a closure that never came. Yet the moment I saw her again, it felt like time folded in half and pushed all the air out of my lungs. It happened on the morning of my sister Mira's wedding. The venue looked like something out of a soft dream. A wide garden spread across the back of an old, elegant hall. Rows of white chairs were arranged neatly, stretching out like gentle waves. Pink and cream flowers hung from the wooden arch, swaying lightly in the cool morning breeze. The sun wasn't high yet, it was warming the edges of the sky with a soft gold, painting everything with a gentle glow. And there she was. Ayla stood near the stage, her back half turned, adjusting a bouquet of roses. The morning light touched her shoulders and made a faint shine along her hair. She looked quiet, almost fragile. Her dress wasn't fancy like the guests'. It was simple, light-colored, comfortable, and worn in a way that showed she had been working for hours already. But even in that simple dress, she looked like a memory I had never been able to erase. My feet stopped moving. My heartbeat didn't. She reached up to fix a piece of fabric on the arch, and a small loose strand of hair fell across her cheek. My fingers twitched without thinking because once, years ago, I used to tuck that same strand behind her ear. She turned then, slowly, almost unwillingly. Our eyes met. I don't know what I expected, surprise, shock, anger, something. But she simply froze, completely still. Her eyes widened for a heartbeat, then softened in a way that made something inside my chest ache too deeply to describe. I didn't smile, not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't. Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but nothing came out. She looked away first, her throat tightening. 7 years. And she still reacted like she carried a secret. That kept her awake at night. Behind me, Mira suddenly appeared, waving with excitement. Hi! Ayla is helping with the decorations today. She works with the event team now. I forced a nod, swallowing the knot forming in my throat. Ayla, who once dreamed of medical school, who once studied till late at night, who once whispered to me about becoming a doctor, was now arranging flowers and tying ribbons for someone else's happiness. Something inside me tightened with worry. Something had gone wrong in her life. Very wrong. But I kept my face calm, quiet, like I had no right to ask anything anymore. The morning continued around us. Guests started arriving in bright clothes, with cheerful smiles, laughter, and the usual wedding excitement. The air filled with the smell of roses, jasmine, and soft perfume. I stood near the entrance with Mira, greeting relatives. It felt normal, warm, peaceful, until Mira's soon-to-be in-laws came into view. They walked like they owned the place, heads high, clothes expensive, eyes sharp, and constantly judging the world around them. Even before they reached us, I could hear their whispers. That's her brother. The one who ruined his family finances. People like him are bad luck. Such a disgrace. Their words were not whispers, they were loud enough to hurt. I felt a familiar heat rise in my chest, the old mix of anger and shame. But I stayed quiet. Years had taught me how to carry humiliation without letting it spill onto my face. Ayla stood not far away, tying ribbons onto the chairs, pretending to focus. But I saw it, her hands shook lightly. Every insult thrown at me seemed to hit her harder than it hit me. Her eyes flicked toward me again and again, filled with something heavy, guilt, fear, regret, maybe all of them at once. She looked like she was carrying a truth she had never shared. A truth tied to me. A truth tied to the night she walked out of my life. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of my thoughts. It was a message from an old friend, wishing me well for the wedding. I typed a quick reply and slipped the phone back into my pocket. But when I looked up again, Ayla was gone from the stage. I spotted her near a corner of the garden, speaking quietly with another decorator, her face slightly pale. She kept glancing at me from the corner of her eye, like she was scared I would walk toward her, or scared I wouldn't. I took a step forward, but Mira grabbed my arm, pulling me toward a table where her in-laws sat. Hi, can you just talk to them for a minute? They're upset the cushions aren't matching their theme. I exhaled slowly and walked with her. Once I reached them, the father-in-law looked at me with a fake smile. So, you're the brother, he said, eyes scanning me head to toe. I heard the family had financial problems. I hope it won't affect the wedding. Mira's face reddened with embarrassment. Before I could reply, The mother-in-law leaned forward and whispered not softly at all, "I told Mira she deserves better, a family with a cleaner background." My jaw tightened, my fingers curled slightly. But I stayed silent, not because I was weak, but because this day was for my sister. Not for my anger. Ayla stood behind them, holding a tray of small flower petals. She heard every word. I saw the shock in her eyes, the hurt, like she wanted to say something but couldn't. Why? Why did she look like she was suffering more than me? Then I realized something. She wasn't just guilty. She was scared. Of what? Of whom? Of the truth. As she stepped forward to place the tray onto the table, her hand brushed mine for the shortest second. A spark, sharp, overwhelming, shot through my chest. She snatched her hand back quickly. Her breathing hitched. There it was again. The same fear. The same sorrow. The same unspoken confession behind her eyes. It was as if she was begging me silently, "Please don't hate me. Please don't look too closely. Please not here, not now." But I did look, because I couldn't stop myself. This woman had broken me 7 years ago, destroyed me without giving me a reason. She sent one short message. No goodbye, no explanation. I searched for her everywhere. I waited. For days, for weeks, eventually for months. Her parents never answered my questions. They shut the gate in my face, literally. And after that, I left the country, with a heart full of questions and a future filled with shadows. Now she was standing 3 feet away from me, acting like time hadn't touched her. But pain had. Something huge had happened back then. Something she never told me, and something inside me whispered. That this wedding, this day, would finally force that truth to surface. As I tried to step away from the in-laws' table, the father-in-law called out loudly again, "You there? Boy, come help move these chairs. At least be useful if you're going to stand around." Guests looked toward us, their judgment settling heavily on me like dust. A few laughed, a few sighed, some whispered, shaking their heads. Ayla flinched. I watched her chest rise and fall faster, her eyes filling with a helpless pain, as if she couldn't bear watching me get humiliated again. Her lips parted slightly, like she wanted to tell the in-laws to stop. But she didn't. Instead, she stepped backward, her shoulders sank. Her hands tightened around the tray, and at that moment, I understood something deep and chilling. Ayla wasn't just hiding from me. She was hiding from them, from this family. From something they had done. Something connected to me. Something connected to the past. Something that broke us apart 7 years ago. As the sun rose higher and the chatter grew louder, one thought kept repeating in my mind. The ceremony preparations continued, but my mind didn't. It kept circling back to Ayla, the way she avoided my eyes, the way her hands trembled whenever Mira's in-laws spoke, the way she seemed to shrink every time I was insulted. It wasn't the reaction of someone who simply felt guilty. It was the reaction of someone carrying a wound, an old one, deep one that still bled. As the guests moved inside for refreshments before the wedding began, I stepped outside to breathe. The sun hung low, warming the horizon with orange and soft pink. A light wind brushed across my face, bringing with it the faint fragrance of roses. But even the beauty of the evening couldn't quiet the storm inside my chest. Feet padded softly behind me. I didn't turn, but I knew it was her. When Ayla walked, she had a quiet presence, soft but noticeable, like she was afraid of taking too much space. I remembered that. I remembered everything. She stopped a few steps away, close enough to feel her presence, far enough to show she still didn't know if she was allowed in my life anymore. "You look," her voice was soft, tight. "You look different." "Time does that," I replied, staring out toward the garden. More silence, the kind that grows heavy between two people with too much history and too many unanswered questions. She shifted her weight, her fingers nervously tapping against her palms, a habit she had since she was 17. "How have you been?" she asked finally. Her question wasn't casual. It wasn't polite. It was fearful, like she was scared the answer would hurt her. "I've been surviving," I said honestly. She flinched. Just slightly, just enough. "7 years is a long time," she whispered. "Yes," I said. "Long enough for someone to give an explanation." She closed her eyes for a second, breathing shakily. "I know." I turned to her. "Then tell me." My voice wasn't harsh, it was tired. "Why did you leave without a word? Why did you end everything like I meant nothing?" Her eyes filled instantly, but she blinked the tears away quickly, as if she didn't have the right to show them. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said, "but you did anyway." She lowered her head. "That wasn't the plan?" "Then what was?" "Disappearing, breaking me, making me question myself for years." Her breath trembled. "I did what I thought was right." "Right for who?" I stepped closer. "You or me?" She didn't answer. Of course she didn't, because the truth wasn't simple. It wasn't small. It wasn't something you could whisper in a moment and walk away from. Her eyes drifted toward the hall, toward the voices of Mira's in-laws echoing inside. "You deserved a better life," Ayla murmured. "Not this." "What does that mean?" I asked. She swallowed. Her gaze dropped to the ground. "It means I didn't want you dragged into other people's hatred, into their games, into the poison they were planning against your family." I froze. "What are you talking about?" Before she could answer, the father-in-law's loud voice cut through the air from the hall. "Hey, disgrace boy, we need your help here." A few people laughed inside. Ayla stiffened, like someone had stabbed her. "Ignore them," she whispered urgently, her voice shaking. "Please, just ignore them." "That's easy for you to say," I said, bitterly. "No," she said, taking a small step toward me. "It's not. Not after what I know." "What do you know?" I demanded softly. She looked around nervously, as if afraid someone might be listening. "I can't tell you here," she whispered. "Not today. Not like this. You've been hiding something for 7 years," I said. "You can tell me now." Her voice cracked. "You'll know soon." "That's not good enough, Ayla." She pressed her lips together, her eyes filling with silent panic, and before I could say anything more, Mira rushed out from the hall. "Pie! Ceremony is starting. Come inside." Ayla stepped back instantly, wiping her eyes. "Go," she whispered. "Please." I looked at her for a long moment, longer than I should have. Then I turned and walked toward the hall. Behind me, I heard her take a deep, trembling breath, as if she knew. The truth she'd been hiding for years was finally about to surface. Something felt off. Wrong. Heavy. She wasn't just hiding a secret. She had been protecting me from something. Something connected to Mira's new family. Something big enough to break 2 lives apart. And that fear in her eyes, it wasn't fear of me. It was fear of what was coming. The wedding ceremony began with music and soft whispers. The hall was bright, decorated in gold and cream, with flowers hanging like soft blessings from the ceiling. Guests filled every seat. The air smelled like jasmine, rose water, and a hint of anxiety I couldn't shake. Mira walked down the aisle, glowing happiness shining through her eyes. For a moment, I allowed myself to enjoy it. She deserved this joy. But beneath it all, tension simmered. Mira's in-laws sat in the front row, wearing expressions of pride mixed with entitlement. They glanced at me as if I didn't belong there, as if I was a stain on their perfect picture. Ayla stood near the back, holding a basket of petals for the children. She looked pale, like her heart was fighting itself inside her chest. When the couple was about to exchange rings, the doors at the back opened. A hush fell over the hall. A man in a gray suit walked in, holding a folder. I recognized him immediately. He was the lawyer from the firm that handled my father's estate. A quiet, professional man who never appeared without purpose. Ayla saw him and froze completely. Her fingers dug into the basket handle. Her lips parted in fear. The lawyer walked straight to the stage, leaned toward the microphone, and said calmly, "I apologize for the interruption, but this concerns the bride's family and cannot be delayed." People began whispering. Some irritated, some curious. The groom's parents looked offended. The lawyer opened the folder and spoke clearly. "As of this morning, the final review of Mr. Rashid's estate has been completed. All assets, business rights, and properties now legally belong to his son present in this hall." My heart stopped. People turned to stare at me. Ayla's eyes filled instantly, not with shock, but with something deeper. Relief, fear, grief. All of it mixed into one expression. The lawyer continued. "For 7 years this process was delayed due to deliberate interference." Gasps spread through the room. He looked directly at Mira's in-laws. "The interference came from a third-party legal complaint filed under the groom's family name." Silence. Dead, thick silence. The mother-in-law went pale. The father-in-law's jaw dropped. The lawyer raised another document. "An anonymous woman tried to stop them 7 years ago. She brought evidence to our firm. begging us to protect the son. Every eye turned toward Ayla. She blinked, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. The lawyer said her name, Miss Ayla. My chest tightened so painfully, I had to steady myself. She came to us 7 years ago with proof that the groom's family was targeting the son's future, fearing their daughter would marry into a competing business family. A murmur rippled across the hall. The lawyer continued, voice steady. She warned us that they were sabotaging the father's reputation, damaging his business, and spreading false claims so their daughter would not be associated with his family. The groom's mother shook her head wildly. This is nonsense. The lawyer cut her off. Your signatures are on the complaint. The hall gasped again. Ayla covered her mouth with a trembling hand. She ended the relationship to protect him. The lawyer said softly, she sacrificed her own life, her dreams, and their love, to prevent further harm to his family. I felt the world tilt. My vision blurred for a moment. I turned toward Ayla. She stood frozen, tears running silently, her hands shaking, her body trembling like a truth too heavy had finally broken her. 7 years. 7 years she carried this alone. 7 years she let me hate her. 7 years she lived with guilt to save me. I walked toward Mira's in-laws slowly. The entire hall watched. You tried to destroy my family, I said, voice calm but sharp. And today, you call me disgrace? They said nothing. Shame sat heavy on them like a storm cloud ready to burst. I didn't shout. I didn't curse. I simply said the truth everyone now knew. Then I turned to Ayla. She looked at me like she didn't deserve to breathe the same air, like she expected me to walk past her. But I stopped right in front of her. Her voice broke. I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you. I wanted to come back. But I couldn't. I wiped a tear from her cheek gently. I know, I whispered. Now I know. The hall was silent, every person holding their breath. I looked out at all of them, at every face that had judged me, insulted me, spoken about me like I was dirt, and with a calm, steady voice, I gave them the final line, the one that would stay in their memories forever. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. It exposes the ones who tried to bury it. The room remained silent. Ayla sobbed quietly. Mira held her husband's hand tightly. And Mira's in-laws, they couldn't look anyone in the eye. The truth had finally come out. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.